So we are inbound VOR Sierra Lima Kilo, and we're still at 5,000 feet. And we can see here our magenta triangle is above us. That means that we are below our VNAV path, so we have to intercept it from below. You can see it here as well. It's counting down. It's 1,800 feet above us, and we're basically, like I talked about, intercepting it from below. Slowly reducing the speed. We are within 25 nautical miles. And I do not want to fly the turn with that high of a speed, so I'm going flaps 1. And flaps are moving, so I can move my speed bug down. Flaps 5. It's moving again. We can turn it down to 190. Path is coming in. And we are LNAV, VNAV out. And we should descend anytime soon. Adjust our heading. You always want to make sure that your heading is centered to your track in case of any ATC instructions that you should fly on current heading. So now we are on the VNAV path. So we are descending to our target altitude, 3,600 feet. That is what we want. And we got 14 miles to go. So we're looking good on the speed. At real busy airports, ATC will give you speed instructions, and they will tell you fly 200 knots until glide intercept, etc. Or fly 160 knots until 5 miles. So now it's yelling at us drag is required, so it can maintain the VNAV path. And we want to make sure that our magenta triangle is somewhere here in the middle. Yeah, okay. And I'm gonna arm the localizer. You would do this earlier, but I had the issue here with the sim that when you arm the localizer, when turning in, it will overshoot completely. So that's why I'm arming the localizer that late. And we can arm the approach mode since we are on the localizer and glide slope captured. So I'm looking on my chart, 4,000 feet for the missed approach. So I would call 4,000 feet missed approach altitude set. Winds are pretty calm. Going for 3,600 feet. And I'm just gonna slow it more. Usually what you do in this aircraft is flaps, from flaps up to 1, then to 5, and then from 5 you could go directly to flaps 20. So flaps 10 and all the other flaps in between usually are used for takeoff, but you can use them to get the aircraft slowed a little bit. So in the 7.5 I would have already put in the gear down. With the 7.8 it's not that critical, so gear down and flaps 20. And I can turn down to the flap 20 speed. So gear down and flaps 20 is like the combination for most Boeings. It works in the 7.5, 7.6, and also here for the 7.8. It seems to be the standard thing to do. So flaps 20 can arm our speed brake, and flaps 25 we set our final approach speed. So 153 plus 5, 158. Wind is pretty calm, so I'm happy with a wind additive of 5 knots. And now we got the land free rollout flare armed, which basically means that we can perform an auto land with no degraded mode. So this is the highest mode available. All autopilot channels are working, everything is working, and you could in low visibility proceed with an approach. At least in I think in most companies it's like 75 meters of RVR and 0 feet decision height. So we passed our 1000 feet stable gate. By that time you should have done the checklist. Landing checklist is completed. The airplane senses it, and I'm visual to the runway. And now we're monitoring that everything, all these parameters are within their stable region. So no excessive pitch, up or down, within 1 dot deviation. Speed should be now 158 plus 10 knots maximum, and should never go below the VREF really. So I'm trying to fly this manual. Autopilot off, tells me flight director. Going for minimums, but we are a visual anyways. And touchdown. It's the sound of the speed brakes. And the reversers, let's see if they work. No, they will not come up. Ah, there we go. And I'm going manual braking. Okay, it's 60 knots. You should be at idle reverse. Okay, there's somebody taking off. Great. I have no idea why it's telling me checklist incomplete, since we did our landing checklist. But anyways, so here's a turn off, taxi turn off. So I'm slowing to our taxi speed. During sharp turns, you want to do 10 knots. And this does not look like a rapid exit taxiway, so yeah, I'm definitely slowing down. And there's the rule of no action on the runway. So I'm not touching anything, not touching the flaps for now. I'm just making sure that we are turning off the runway here. Gonna leave all lights on until we have vacated the runway. Here are the runway markings, so when we have passed that, we can start to switch up everything, and I'm just gonna turn in here. The airplane seems to be accelerating, and I'm not sure why. Okay. Then the captain would retract the speed brakes, and that's the sign for the first officer to do the flow after landing. So you want to start the APU, so start then on. We can put the lights off, at least the left and right, the strobe lights. We can leave the turn-off lights on. And I should be tracking on center line, of course. Put the flaps up, auto brakes off, flight directors off. Transponder back to XPDR. And then we taxi to the gate. Most airplanes, most airlines, you would shut down one of the engines during taxi to save fuel. It has been a little bit tricky in the sim to taxi with one engine, so I'm gonna leave them running. And when you shut down one of the engines during taxi, you want to make sure that you shut down the correct engine. And what I mean with that is, in some cases you have to do maybe a turn to the left. If you want to turn to the left, you want to leave the right engine running and not the left one. That would makes things much more complicated. If you have the left engine running and the right engine shut down, you want to turn left. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we had the landing checklist completed. So that is strange. And yeah, when I push this recall button, yeah, now there we go. The ICAS messages should disappear. You can see the taxi speed, 11 knots. On a straight line, you could do 20 knots, but it's dark. I've not the best visibility, and I'm expecting to turn in here soon, so I don't have to be hauling that fast. At the end of the day, if you go slower, you save brake temperature, which comes in important if you want to depart soon. So in the real world, there would be most likely the next crew already waiting, or would be ready in the next 2 hours to depart with this aircraft to the next destination. And if you have written the brakes and the brakes are pretty hot, it could delay, in the worst case, the departure. So that's why taxi conservatively, especially going through turns, like 90-degree turns in a big aircraft like this, you want to take it slow. There's no rush. And I'm using the oversteering principle since the nose gear is behind the cockpit. So this area here is not very well lit. In the real world, you would turn off all your lights as soon as you see the marshaller at the gate, since you do not want to blind him. The lights are indeed pretty bright. But I'm gonna leave them on here, since without them I wouldn't see anything. So we see a marshaller who is doing nothing. Very helpful. Now he's doing something. Yeah, I'm ignoring his command. Set the parking brake. And we got the APU running. So we can shut down the engines. Put the light back on. When you turn off, or when you cut off the engines, you want to make sure that the anti-ice is auto or off. And after the engines have been shut down, we shut down the hydraulic pumps. Put the beacon off. Fuel pumps off. Those lights would have been already off. And it's already telling me ground power is available. So in that case, I can connect them too. And we are back at the gate. Yeah. Hydraulic quantity is good. You see the pressure is like very low. In flight it's I think 5,000 for the 787. And here you see the APU stats. It's running at 100%, EGT 370. Check the oil quantity. And yeah, here we can see the temperatures for the brakes. And now you could start deboarding the airplane. We're on ground power. Just want to make sure this is on before you turn the APU off. And after that you can turn the IRSs off, window heat off. Can put the emergency exit light off. Packs off. Yeah, and then you can turn down all the displays. At least that was what you would do in the real world. Yeah, and then you would read the shutdown checklist, and then your duty is done. So thank you for watching, and tell me in the comments what you want to see next.